The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. Chapter 4. Habit 3. Put first things first. Now that you have determined your values and principles, how can you begin taking action and living by those principles? By incorporating Habit 3. Put first things first. How many times do you schedule out your week, but then end up wasting time on things that aren't important? You feel as if you have no control over the several phone calls, meetings, and daily interruptions that hinder you from accomplishing your true goals. Perhaps you try to incorporate time management skills, but find that most techniques focus on efficiency, not effectiveness. So, how do you change this? By prioritizing and ensuring the most important tasks are done first. Put everything else aside and get to those tasks later. While this sounds seemingly easy, you might find that you struggle to determine which tasks are important and which are a waste of time. Luckily, Covey has a tool to help you figure that out. The time management matrix is much more effective than just creating a to-do list of what needs to get done. By categorizing your tasks into urgency and importance, you create a 2x2 matrix. Quadrant 1 focuses on tasks that are both urgent and important. While this seems like a critical quadrant, this is more for tasks that become outside of our control, like crises that need to be dealt with right away. A deadline-driven project or the house burning down can both fit into this quadrant. Quadrant 2 focuses on tasks that are important, but not urgent. This is the most critical quadrant, as these are the tasks that are most important to us. These tasks include building relationships or planning for the future. These are important principles that will not happen overnight. Spend your time taking action that focuses on building upon the tasks you put into Quadrant 2. For instance, if you want to improve your relationships, take the time to call a friend or family member on your car ride home versus listening to music or your favorite podcast. Quadrant 3 focuses on tasks that are not important but are urgent. These tasks are those that interrupt our days, such as phone calls or meetings. If you find yourself prioritizing tasks in Quadrant 3, you end up responding to tasks that are based on the priorities of others, not yourself. This can lead to several consequences, like short-term focus or feeling like your life is out of control. Quadrant 4 focuses on tasks that are neither important nor urgent. These tasks include those that are a complete waste of time, like watching an entire series of Netflix in one day or mindlessly scrolling social media while at work. These tasks lead to a life of complete dependence and cause people to get fired from jobs. So why focus on Quadrant 2? As mentioned previously, these are tasks that are most important to us. They focus on building relationships, planning, exercising, and preparation. All things that are critical to your happiness, but you set them aside because you think you don't have the time for them. But how can you make time for them? By learning to say no to other activities. Say no to activities that even seem urgent at the time, and learn how to delegate effectively. By prioritizing Quadrant 2, you begin to approach your tasks through the inside out. You begin with your solid core of principles, and once problems arise, you begin to see them as pieces of a whole versus a whole itself. For instance, when working with shopping center managers, Covey realized that while the managers knew building relationships with store owners was important and would have a positive impact, they spent less than 5% of their time doing it. Instead, managers spent most of their time on Quadrant 1 tasks like answering phone calls and emails, attending meetings, and writing reports. Wanting to implement a change, the managers devoted a third of their time to building relationships with store owners, and the impact was huge. Managers saw an increase in satisfaction and lease revenue. The managers prioritized Quadrant 2 and shifted their perceptions of Quadrant 1 as just pieces of the puzzle and said no to the tasks that were not important. If you want to begin implementing Habit 3, The best way to begin is by creating your own matrix and identifying the tasks in Quadrant 2 that you have been neglecting. Commit to working on Quadrant 2 in writing and begin prioritizing your actions.